Hey, this is Jason Cass. I almost said JDC Insurance Group. I'm so used to it. That's the problem with this. I got a lot of things going on, but it's all about helping the consumer, or it's all about helping agents. But this is Jason Cass from the Grow Program. You are watching the Grow Show live and in person. You have me and you have Joey Gingola. Keep in mind, it's just like Gin, just like Goal, and then I always got to say that because people always say to me, I can't read his name. And I said, yeah, but he's a cool guy, all right? So here's what we are. We're here today. And Joey, why don't you take a second and just say hello to everybody?
Jason, it's always a good day to be sitting here with you, my friend, and I'm glad that I could break down my name pronunciation so specifically for you because we wouldn't have anything to talk about if you didn't know how to pronounce my name that well.
That's right, and man, I just used to butcher it. I apologize for that, man. So I want to welcome everybody that's listening live. Welcome. Looks like we've got some viewers, which is awesome. Be sure to keep in mind that if you're viewing live, you can put in your questions at any time. Joey will be monitoring those, and we can swing those back over to back into the show so that we can make it interactive. For all you listening on the Agents Influence podcast, welcome. If this is your first show, realize that this is really a live show. You can go to the Grow Program YouTube page, and you can actually watch the recording of it. So we do welcome you as well. And just another way that we're trying to help spread the message of what's going on. If this is your first time watching or listening, know that our format is to take a question out of the inbound insurance marketing community off the Google+. Very big community, someplace that we really roam. I got to also give a shout out to the independent insurance agency owners only. That's a very tough one to say. On Facebook, that's another place that I'm really hanging out and really getting a lot of difference. Seems like the agency owner, Joey, is a lot more I want to say, the Main Street agent. I think we're all Main Street agents, so hold on to when I say that, but I think as if these are more of the 1-2-man shops, really down, knuckles, meeting a client face-to-face, going out and seeing them, and I know we all do that, but I think sometimes inside of the Google Plus community that we're talking about, it seems like there's a little bit larger agencies in there. I guess you really can't say, Joey, because I don't think you're in the other group on Facebook.
I'm in there. It's intense. Yeah, somebody added me to there. Yeah, there's only a few. There's just like 50 of us. It's pretty small, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And actually, Dave Jackson, who runs it, is actually adding more people all the time. So it's actually pretty good. But anyways, I just wanted to give a shout out to you guys out there. Looks like we're growing in listeners, which is definitely a good thing. Now, what we're going to be talking about today is an article that we took right out of the insurance inbound marketing, and actually it's inbound insurance marketing. I always say the wrong one, so keep in mind it is inbound insurance marketing. If you go to insurance inbound marketing on Google+, you're going to be at the wrong place, and I'm not saying they're bad, but I don't think they're doing what we're doing. So what we're going to do is we're going to take...
Bad. I'll say it if you don't want to say it. They're bad.
Yeah, I didn't want to say it, but... Joey said it. So I've got the what we got here is we're going to take this topic in this comment, and you got to understand that Joey and I go through this community, and we've got a lot to choose from. And I really thought this one was relevant, not only because I was tagged in it and was talking about something that I talk about in my presentations, but it was something that's relevant to everybody. It's so relevant. And that's why we named the name of the show is Your Agency's Tipping Point. Where is it? So what do we mean by that? Well, where is our tipping point? Meaning, well, when will technology finally surpass us to where when we do what we did 10 years ago, 5 years ago, or in some cases 3 years ago, not working anymore? And I think it goes to I'm really gonna spit some game here, and I mean that because I'm gonna give you guys some meat and some really big also thoughts on how we need to think about this. But first, let me read the question. Jeff Roy, which fantastic agent. Jeff, we appreciate you reaching out and doing what you do to the community. Your voice, he's a Canadian agent for all you guys that don't know. I think he has four or five locations. Did you say something, Joey?
I just said A.
Okay, all right. He has 4 or 5 locations, and he really has a different spin. If you guys ever get a chance, I don't know his website, and I really should have. Sorry about that, Jeff, because he's got Excalibur Insurance, and I think it's in Ontario, Canada, if I'm wrong. You need to look at his website. It's a different site, and they have a mantra there that's because it's just the right thing to do. And they tell stories of claims and clients that they've had, that the stories that of how they fixed it, or a unique situation and how they recovered or whatever. And then they always end it with, that's what we did because it was the right thing to do. And that's kind of their mantra. They spend a lot of money on branding, and they're doing a fantastic job. But here's the question that Jeff throws out there. Do you agree with all these heads on the insurance technology hydra that will transform insurance in the next 5 to 10 years? Can your organization make the turn before it's too late? He says, Jason Cass mentioned, if you try to bring the client of today into the agency of yesterday, you will have no tomorrow. Let me repeat that. If you try to bring the client of today into the agency of yesterday, you will have no tomorrow. And is your organization structured, and does your culture allow you to make this turn? To use a Hulk Hogan saying, what are you going to do when emerging technology comes down on you? I kind of think that's like cops, like technology, what you going to do when technology comes for you. But he says Hulk Hogan. I don't really get that, but Jeff, obviously there's a meaning.
You don't get the Hulk Hogan reference? Hold on, Jason, you don't get the Hulk Hogan reference? What kind of shit are we putting on here?
I really don't. Tell me, Joey. Joey, I want you to tell me.
What are you going to do when Hulkamania runs wild on you? Come on, man. I don't even know if I want to co-host the show anymore with you. This is...
What are you talking about? Say that again? I never heard of that in my life.
It's what are you going to do when Hulkamania runs wild on you, is the Hulk Hogan saying.
First time I've ever heard that in my entire life.
Yeah.
Isn't it weird? Isn't it weird?
It's all right. It's all right. I'll let this one slide. We'll move past it. I blacked out for a few minutes. I'm going to forget that happened. This is the low point in the show's history, but we will move forward. Okay, now guys, if you guys come back next month and I'm not here and Joey's taking it over, you guys know why. Now, one thing that I want to add on here is they talk about emerging technologies. Okay, and I'm going to kind of summarize this. First of all, this article is pointed heavily towards. And I believe also, if you're watching live, Joey has dropped the link into this article so you can follow along. We got a lot of viewers right now. When you're rolling this, I'll pull it up on my screen here. So. Okay, so you want to bring it up on your screen, the article? Yeah, I'll drop the link in too if they want to check it out in the event page. Okay, that'd be fantastic. And it talks about 9 areas. Now I gotta say, this article is more focused, I have to believe, like 60-70% slanted towards insurance companies, but there are partners. And they're actually, not all the time, but they're usually trying to lead the way. Due to consumerization, which I encourage you to try and look up, consumerization says that the whole thing has changed. Everything used to start with government, then business, and then go to the consumer. That's completely changed today. So think of the cell phone. That started in the military, then moved into business. As it became cheaper, it came into the consumer. Think about fax machines. Think about calculators. All those things were started for business or for the government use and came through. We're now seeing that change happen differently. We're now seeing the 25-year-olds in the basement of their mom and dad creating apps that are transforming the way the consumer uses technology, which makes the business adapt, which even I've read a statistic before, at 20 to 30% of the technology that was used to fight over in the Middle East wars was actually created by someone who was less than 25 years old. Yeah, I know, really. I've been trying to find that article because I read it like 3 or 4 years ago before I had the thought. Daniel Burrus, if you want to look out to him, he's the one who talks about consumerization, but he doesn't talk about it in insurance. So I did what I did, and I kind of twisted a little bit to bring it right back into you so that you guys can understand what's going on. But if you want to look over here on Joey, Joey's screen's very small, but there's a I've been reading that, Joey, but do you actually have the actual article that kind of shows? We can do the article. Here's the article. Yeah, so the article. So it is kind of small, but you guys can see to the best of your ability. But you can see right here where Joey's at. It mentions 9 things. And it talks about the 9 things that they believe will be the most transforming. Excuse me. Notice they didn't say change. Notice they didn't say change. Transforming. Okay. It says right here, research shows that these are 9 strategies which have the potential to transform and innovate insurance. It doesn't say change. There's a difference between change and transformation. Change for the music industry, and you can relate it to your business, was going from vinyl records into 8 tracks, into cassettes, into CDs. Those were changes.
But once they were able to bring it onto this device and give it to me when I wanted, how I wanted, I can buy it when I want, and I could only buy one song if I wanted, that transformed the industry. And you know what it did? It killed about 40 to 50% of the music industry's revenue. Now, over time, since this came about, huge technology in 2003, 2004, and 5, now since then they've slowly grown their revenue. Still not back to what they were, but we can also see that that's a trend of where we're going. It happened with the travel agencies. They had to transform who they were. This is where we're at, folks, transforming. And here's the 9 things they list. 3D printing. Okay, we obviously know what that is. 3D printing. I believe 3D printing is going to change the game as far as how much claims cost. It's going to be more cost effective, more efficient, and they can get their work done in a more timely fashion when a body shop can reconstruct a part right there rather than having to ship it. Okay, I know that's kind of hard to see right now, but that's another topic for another day. But this is where we're going. Internet of Things. I didn't even really truly know what that was. I got to tell you, Joey told me what it was. And that's when, like, your refrigerator is connected and knows that when you're out of food or a certain type of thing, and it would send it to your cell phone to notify you. I've also read last week that the University of Tennessee has these sensors in their pads that can show how hard the person is hitting on every play, where most of the compression and stuff is coming from. It's being able to use that. And here's something, folks. The CEO of Oracle said this. Less than 1% of all things in the world that can be connected are connected. Does that like throw you back for a minute? 1%. Look at all the things we have that are already connected. And he's saying less than 1%. Whew. Folks, where we're going, it's pretty crazy. Star Wars is becoming more real and real. Drones and aerial technology or imagery. That's something that's going to change the game, is the way that we can do claims. I mean, it already changed Street View on Google, or it changed the way that I inspect homes, and where I get my first glimpse. I think a lot of agents out there would agree with me. Driverless vehicles. Number one biggest factor that insurance agents are not thinking about. If you're not diversifying into other products except for personal lines, auto, it doesn't look good, folks. It doesn't look good, okay, because driverless cars are literally going to change the game. They're saying, I was at a conference last week, that if the average auto premium is around $800, they believe that when driverless cars are the majority, okay, let's talk about that in a minute, are the majority in most everything, is they believe that they can lower it down to $300-400. They also believe that once everybody is in a driverless car, they can actually lower it to about $200 a year. Now, Joey, I'm going to stop there for a minute. I want to hear what you have to say.
Let me jump in on this, because this is the one area that I wanted to kind of just really get all over. And I mean, if cars are driving themselves, there's going to be a bumpy period of where people are afraid of them. They are going to mess up. But I would say within 10 years, they're probably going to be to the point where there aren't any accidents anymore. And would you even need auto insurance at that point?
Yes, you would. Yes, you would, because you could drive down the road and you could hit a deer. Someone could come up to you and they could steal your car. You could go off a bridge and go into some water and flood it.
Now, see, here's what. Now, there's a really good YouTube channel called Big Think, and I'll link up the video later after. But there's a guy that kind of suggested, like, we won't even necessarily be owning our cars at that point. We will actually just be ordering up cars to our specific need for that specific time.
I can see that. We have to understand. Let me expound on what Joey's talking about. I've read some stuff on this. So if I have a car and it's driverless and it can go on where I program it to go, why do we need 3 cars at the JDC at Jason Cass's house? One for me, one for my wife, and one for the son. Why do we need that? All we got to do is take my son to school, come back, pick me up, take me to work. Well, I work out of my house, but take my wife, to work, come back, pick me up. My car doesn't even sit at work, because really for the 4 or 5 hours that it's sitting and I don't need it, there will be companies and places where that you can loan your vehicle out. Maybe that's going on to what you're saying, Joey. Am I
And I should have watched the video again for kind of a refresher, but basically the idea is like the biggest waste of space in auto and cars today is that they're built for any type of scenario, like our 8-passenger, whatever, super SUV, minivan type stuff. And most of the time it's just one person, so you're just gonna need one very lightweight, thing that it comes, picks you up, and then goes away.
Right.
So I think people aren't even necessarily going, like, literally my kids will probably never drive a car. And
Really?
people, I think there's a ridiculous stat of like over 60 or 70% of like kind of developed land is used for parking. It's like
Yeah, good point.
what's going to happen there? People aren't even going to have garages anymore. I don't think. I'm already making plans of what I'm going to make my garage when I have a driverless car
Man
that's on the road.
cave.
So, I mean, that's the thing that I honestly think that personal auto policy is not going to exist in 15 years.
I'm. You know what? Here's what I'm gonna say. Here's what I'm gonna say. This is just Jason on a couple glasses of wine, folks. Okay, deal with me here. In 1900, there was a guy or a woman who was watching Ringling, Bangling, Barling, Circus, whatever the hell the name is of the thing. Okay, I don't know the whole name of that, so forgive me. Anybody, most people watching don't either. And
Ringling, Barnum, and Bailey Circus, is that it?
What?
Ringling, Barnum, and Bailey Circus?
Yeah, that whole thing right there. That's what it is. And I got to stop here for a minute, Joey. Right now, we have the most listeners we've ever had, and that's awesome. I mean, we're into double digits now. I got to thank everybody for that. But think of this. And it's 1910, 1920, 1930, and you're watching a circus. And they're doing all this stuff. They're swinging from the air, jumping on elephants, taming lions, whatever they're doing. And some guy sitting next to you says, in 90 to 100 years, there will be circuses that have no animals. What are you guys thinking as you're listening to this? How could that be? How could you have a circus without animals? Animals are the circus. And then there was something called Circus Soleil. That is a circus with no animals. The old circus with animals is $10. The new one is $150 per seat. Okay? So you would be back in that day going, wow, I cannot picture there being a circus without animals. But here it is. So I want to pose the question. Could we have insurance? Now, Joey just said, I don't think we'll have insurance policies in 15 years. And there's a lot of us listening, a lot of us watching that are saying, that's crazy. That's crazy. But it's the same thing as a circus. And I also have to say this. I'm going to take it one step farther. What if we have insurance in the future, Joey, with no insurance companies?
Well, we touched upon that on a previous show, didn't we? I think we did.
Did we?
I don't know. We had that conversation. I don't know if it was actually on air or not, but
it goes back to this type of stuff. Are you at that tipping point? Okay, that's the kind of tipping point that we're talking about. Some of the other things that it talks about, guys, I'm just going to sum it up. Driverless vehicles are here. According to 3 manufacturers, they'll be on the road by 2017.
I heard Tesla 2016.
Okay, it is 2016, but I believe it's going to be 2017. You're going to have some that are out there, but really, when you're driving down the road and there's a dude in a car and he's not driving it, I believe it'll be 2017, 2018 until you really.
Let me hop in real quick before we move away from this. Being a health insurance guy, everyone always says I'm not going to get involved with it because the government's. I think people think health insurance's days is numbered. And that might be true, but I'm going to go out on the limb and say I bet you personal auto is more in danger sooner than health insurance.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I also think, this is a side note, I also think work comp and property insurance will go by the way of the government if the companies can't figure out a way to get these premiums under control. So that's another topic, another day. But I want to say that the driverless car I think is huge, okay? And here's the thing. People say, oh, it'll take a while for that to happen. First of all, 980,000 miles they've driven. They've had 2 wrecks. Both of them were in parking lots, and both of them were the other driver's fault. Look it up. I was just at this conference, and they were referencing Google last Friday on this. Look it up. So I think that that's really important when you think about that, because that's going to change the game. And I also know that when my neighbor gets one and I see him drive around for a year and he has no wrecks and everybody that I know doesn't have one, whether or not it's a lot of people, it's only going to be a matter of time before I go get one. And people say, well, they'll be expensive like a hybrid. No, they won't. Did you hear what Joey just said? They're going to make them small, compact, because you're not going to need them for the same way. Let's move on. Wearable devices. I think wearable devices are huge. I think we can see a lot of places. I think, once again, I think this article is more directed towards insurance companies. I think wearable devices will be huge for claims adjusters. I think there will be ways that agents can use it that we haven't even thought about. Joey, you have any examples of wearable devices?
So, I mean, the 2 big ones that we have available today are smartwatches and Google Glass. personally, I think they're the people using them now are very early adopters. So I mean, it's very rough. So I mean, they're fun, they're interesting, and basically beyond the novelty of it, I don't know. I think people make fun of Google Glass. I'm sure you probably heard people make fun of people wearing Google Glass because it looks ridiculous. But again, that's a technology where you put this thing over your eye. If you don't wear glasses, you just basically put glasses on, and it's this little thing that basically lets you kind of be connected to the internet all the time. I mean, eventually that's going to be so small to where it will just be right on your lenses of your glasses, or even just like on a contact lens. So I mean, we laugh at it now, but it will be probably something every one of us has and replaces our cell phone at some point in time.
Absolutely. I'm so with you there, brother. The gamification. I think gamification is going to be bigger than you probably know. I think gamification is not only going to transform insurance, I think it's also going to, not the use of it, but it's also going to transfer in the way that we insure people. I believe, and I see a city one day, Gavin Newsom has written a book called Cityville. I'm reading a book right now by Newt Gingrich called Breakthrough. Unbelievable book. It relates exactly to what we're talking about. But he cites a city called Cityville, I think it's in Texas. It's a real city that operates like Farmville does. Operates just like Farmville. So, Josh Lipstone, he's a viewer of ours, he's driving down the road and he sees a pothole. How can he take a snapshot of that and that gets uploaded somewhere? To where then it goes to the city throws out a bid automatically to all the people that they have in their database that fix all asphalt. Boom, it's bid on it immediately. That person gets the job. That contractor's there an hour later fixing that pothole going on. On this backside, Josh gets points. Josh gets points as a citizen for being able to turn in that stuff. Where that goes from there, I don't know. But I think that's going to change how we insure people. I think that's going to change a lot of different things in the ways things are going. Joey, you got any thoughts on gamification?
Being an avid gamer myself, I think this only just makes our lives a little more enjoyable, possibly. I mean, because when you have incentives and you have something to look forward to, it gives you a reason to participate. But the only problem is making sure that we don't become too dependent on it, and it doesn't get manipulated and corrupted, which will probably happen because we're terrible human beings sometimes. But we're creatures of habit. So I agree with you there. And then artificial intelligence, that's using data that we already have right now to make our agencies more intelligent. Using the data that we have right now, our management systems are full of data that if you knew how to use it correctly and cross-reference it and put it in Matrix, it could help you grow your business by 15, 20, 30% just off the data that you have right now. And that's some of the stuff I think. Joey, anything on that? Artificial intelligence is probably one of the most slipperiest of slopes as far as, once we have true artificial intelligence, then there will be a lot of, and I guess let's get one thing clear. Everything that we're talking about is going to disrupt almost every industry simultaneously. So it's not
Good point, Joey.
It's not like we're going to be the only ones thinking, oh man, how do we deal with this? I mean, going back to the driverless cars thing real quick. I mean, what are cities, and this is a real thing that I'm concerned about. What are cities and municipalities going to do when they can no longer issue traffic tickets? Where's all that lost revenue going to come from? How many cities are going to go bankrupt because of that?
You see why I brought this guy on the show? Okay, that's brilliant. So yes, Joey, that you're right. It's going to affect a lot of things.
So I mean, to say that we're the only ones playing catch up on this is ridiculous. Because I mean, when you can walk into Home Depot and they just print you the hammer in the back room, again, it's more retail for 3D printing and things like that. I mean, so it's gonna disrupt everything. Whether it's gonna happen all at once, that's probably a bit dramatic and Michael Bay-ish of me to think that.
I don't think so at all. I don't think so at absolute all. I think people have no idea. That's why the topic of this is tipping point. When are you going to get it? A lot of you that are listening right now live and you're watching live, you guys probably get it. But this is for everybody else out there that just listens to the podcast while they're going from one place to the other, because I know a lot of people do that. They tell me. And they're going to watch this recording. I mean, man, the tipping point's here, and we're going to expand on that here just a minute. That's going to tell you why. Semantic technologies. Why don't you explain a little bit about what semantic technologies are, how that could possibly change the game, Joey?
Well, yeah. So I mean, obviously, we're in a very literal age of, you have to. I mean, we're slowly creeping into it. So like when we search for stuff online, it's we would search for car insurance, and it would just give you car insurance anywhere in the world. But now it's okay. I'm located 30 miles outside of Cleveland, so I'm going to look for car insurance 30 miles outside of Cleveland. Or if you say if you search in Google for Cavs game tonight, the Cleveland Cavs, it's going to give you, it's going to know what today is, that you're talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers, and it's going to tell you, the information that you need. So it's going to provide context and, kind of more information than you give it, but it's going to know it based on intent.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And I think we already see kind of a small, very generic part of that today that this article is saying is going to be expounded on, which is very important to have a social and digital status. That's part of that semantic technology, being able to point that user to the information that they need, which is you.
Let me hop to the comments here. We got a few coming in from our buddy Josh. I don't know what exactly we were saying that made him say this, but he said that's because Joey doesn't sell PNC insurance. I don't know if it's my negative attitude towards auto policies, but
any other comments, Josh? If you're watching, explain what that was. It's probably wild.
For the record, we do sell auto insurance. I just don't personally deal with it a lot, so it's not like I'd be skinning my own cat too there. So.
Hey, dude, but you also know Josh. He's joshing you.
He is. And then Nicholas, I haven't seen Nicholas's name pop up before, so this is fun. He says, I agree with the premise. Anyone who sells auto alone is in danger. I don't know about the 15 years statement. Take a look at Ridesharing. It's been around for years, and insurance carriers still don't know how to handle it. I would suspect driverless cars would present a bigger challenge.
Good point. That's a really good point. The consumer controls it, but what blows is the reason why I don't ride share. Maybe you guys feel me out there, is I want to listen to my own music. I want to sit on the phone. I want to listen to my own audio books. I want to, if I on the way home from a place, I want to stop and get something. That's why I don't ride share. That's eliminated when I have a driverless car. It's eliminated. So I see that, Nicholas. And by the way, if you guys don't know Nicholas, he's an awesome agent out of California with our boy Shane Eastman, who is going to be on a podcast in a couple days, or was on a podcast. So, Nicholas, I see where you're coming there. I just think it's really, really cool, and a really, really cool thought that if I can get a car that costs less than what I have now, my insurance is going to cost less, and me and my family members can drive that 18-hour drive to Miami while we sleep, or maybe while we read, or we play patty cake.
Well, and yeah, again, the driverless car is too big of a thing to kind of get around or away from. I mean, think about what it's going to do, the productivity and the industries that it's going to destroy, again, outside of the one. So what are you doing in that car? So you're probably going to have a little desk in your car, not like a seat. So you're going to be sitting, you can watch Netflix, you can actually do work. You're not going to be listening. And this is, I think, where the whole podcast and radio movement might come into trouble, is that you're not going to be listening to things as much as you used to. You're going to be doing other things that you would be doing.
Problems. What's up with Joey?
I mean, if you had the option to, if you're sitting at your desk, what do you do when you're sitting at your desk? You sometimes listen to podcasts, but you'll do something else.
Right. Yeah. True. It's true.
Those are the things that you're going to be doing on your commute, I would imagine.
That's true. Even though a lot of people listen to my podcast while on their commute, so I'm not saying that.
Until you have a driverless car, please listen to Agents Influence.
Love it, man. Love it. Okay. Got something else here, because I wanna. There's definitely some things that I want to talk about. But those are the 9 technologies. There's biotechnology as well, which I think could be huge. It's a little deep. But I want you guys to go to this article, because what it does is it gives you a timeline of how they project this to go. Okay? Now, these are just projections, right? Well, if you listen to Dan Burris, who's a futurist for many industries, and you go back to the 70s and 80s and read some of his stuff when he talks about 2000, 2010, and 2020, you guys will get goosebumps, because he's right on. And so when he talks today, I think he's right on. And that's a very, very important thing. And this is what this graph shows. This graph shows that in 3 years, the technology of driving cars just shoots to the moon, while others kind of level out. The point is, they go way over the 40, 50, 60, 70%, even almost as 80% usage, and that's in the next 10 years. Guys, there's people a lot smarter than us who sit in our agencies who know this stuff. Okay, they know this stuff. Now let me jump back over, because I want to jump back over to the post. So one of the posts was replied by Agency Nation, which is the outreach program for TrustedChoice.com through the Big I. Jeff Roy, this is the question, isn't it? Can we adapt? Can we look beyond the past successes to the new world barreling down on us? I personally believe that driverless cars, and he says personally, and it's under Active Nation, I'm guessing, but I'm thinking that it's Ryan Hanley. I personally believe that driverless cars is going to be a reality sooner than later and single-handedly destroy the personal lines market. It's his thoughts. But as the article says, and this is what he quotes, some of these emerging technologies will likely destroy existing businesses and products and revenue models, while others will offer new, innovative ways to create new products and services and decrease operational costs. And he ends with, if we keep our eyes forward, we'll find new opportunities to grow our business. Now, Joey, before I go on to a rant about that, does that affect you any? What does that mean to you?
You're saying Ryan's comment on the driverless cars?
On the driverless cars, that's correct. So he's basically saying that's the question, isn't it? If we don't adapt, I mean, we're going to be in trouble.
I'll put it to you this way, and this might be no auto policies in 15 years kind of crazy, but there will come a point in time where we become obsolete. And it's our job to decide, are we going to continue to fight on and hold on to something that maybe not the best or most efficient, or what are we going to do to counteract or pivot from there? It's the case with any industry that slowly dies out. There will probably be a point in time, whether we're alive to see it, of us not being viable. Technology will basically replace us.
Yep.
What are we going to do in the meantime?
Here's what I know, and here's what you know, and here's what the listeners know. Everything in this world has a lifespan. Everything. Whether it's me, whether it's the carpet on my floor, whether it's this screen behind me or this light bulb that I got shining on me, it doesn't matter. Everything has a lifespan. The downtown business owner had that lifespan. And there's still business owners today that are going out of business because they keep holding on to that lifestyle while Walmart just racks it up. And I'm not going to do it. And then these consumers out there, I'm going to support my local. Well, that's great. I'm glad you do. And I'm not against small business. Anybody who knows me knows that. But I also know there's a life cycle. And I don't think the downtown business is their life cycle's over, but it's transformed. Because their whole life, the downtown business, whether it's a jewelry store, a flower shop, a shoe store, whatever it is, they've relied on the consumer coming in the door. And they don't realize that they know the consumer's not coming in, which is transformed and flipped to where we have to go get them. And that's all this stuff that we're talking about. Point is, everybody has a lifetime, and I believe what Joey's saying is very important. Now, when we take it to a lifetime, guys, I'm going to expand on this a little bit, all right? I'm going to share my screen, and this is not something I do a lot, so bear with me here.
Do I finally get to hear the frog story?
Oh, you're going to hear the frog story.
I'm waiting for the whole show to hear the frog story.
And Josh is on the phone. He heard the hot frog story yesterday on our mastermind call, or Monday on our mastermind call. But here's what I'm going to go into real quick. So when I'm going to show you from the no. Sorry about that, guys. That's not what I wanted to show you. And now I can't get it off. Are you guys still seeing my screen?
Nope.
No? I'll apologize for that, guys. I hit the wrong button. So let me do this again. All right, here we go. Okay, so if I'm sorry, guys. I had the right slide, and now I don't. And I want to show you guys this because I think it's totally relevant to what we're talking about. And, Joey, can you guys see my screen?
Yes. It's the same
okay.
one.
What do you mean?
It's what I saw last time, so I don't know what you showed last time.
Does it say digital Darism?
Yes.
Okay, there we go. Because one thing I want to hit on here for a couple minutes is that this is what we're talking about when we talk about digital Darwinism. Darwinism, basically, we all know. It's the the strongest survive and all that stuff. And you're wrong. It's not. And that's what I want to talk about because this figures right into digital. Because digital Darwinism is exactly what a lot of us are experiencing right now. And according to that, It's digital Darwinism is the evolution of the consumer behavior when society and technology evolve faster than your ability to adapt. See, this goes back to what we're talking about when we talk about tipping points. Because I got to ask you, is Darwinism eating you up? Are you the strongest to survive? Because if you are, you're still going to fail. Now, that goes against what we talk about with Darwinism. No, it doesn't. It talks exactly about this. And when I'm talking about Darwinism, I'm not talking about this, guys. You know, that'd be nice. You know, I think a lot of us have fallen into that, but that's not what it's about. It's not about this guy either, the evolution of the man, okay? I mean, what it has to do with is it has to do with the fact that the consumer's behavior of society, of technology is changing faster. But here's the amazing thing. Just like this candle to this light bulb to the fluorescent to this new fluorescent, those were all changes, and they had to adapt. And as a little funny side story, I think if the unions were just as strong in the 1800s as they are today, the candle union would have prevented the light bulb probably from being created. So just a little ha-ha. Read this. It's not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the ones most responsive to change. You see that? We've always said that, oh, it's the strongest of the survivors. It's the fittest of the survivors. That's not what Charles said. Charles said the ones that are most able to adapt.
Well, it's the survival of the fittest, I believe, is the quote.
It is, but it's not the strongest of the species or the
Well, the fittest would mean to the ones that are most fit or able to survive.
I guess if you're talking about a lion, or if you're talking about a lot of things, but a hummingbird. A hummingbird has a long beak that's able to go deep into the flower. That had to evolve over time or it died out. There's probably a lot of different hummingbirds that didn't have that evolution. It's because they were able to adapt. So we are talking about the same thing, but I think we're talking it wrong in the fact that it's the most willing to adapt. Are you able to adapt right now? Because that's what Blockbuster, as late as 2008, 2009, somewhere in there, the CEO of Blockbuster is on record in a board corporate meeting saying that these guys here, Netflix, are just a thing of the past, and at any time the consumer it'll be a fad. He didn't say exactly that, but it's escaping me right now exactly what he said. But this is a company that was so huge in the 1980s that literally sold itself in 2010 from these guys right here. These guys single-handedly. Now we got Hulu and we got some of these others, but this single-handedly killed them.
They had the opportunity to buy Netflix, and Reed Hastings, the CEO of Netflix, actually was just hoping that they would buy them because they were, just at that point where they were scraping to get by, and they didn't do it.
I didn't know that. I didn't know.
They could have bought Netflix, and somewhere around that same time period, and they decided not to.
Wow, because they didn't adapt, because they didn't see it. Uber, same way. Not going to go on about that, but if any of you guys have been in an Uber vehicle, you realize that is a transformation of the way that we can travel.
Except the Uber X. Don't use Uber X. That's not fun.
What's Uber X?
Uber X is like the Super Saver version of Uber. They've got like part-time drivers. I took it I used it all the time. I was in Boston. It was terrible. But if you just get a regular Uber driver, fantastic.
Okay, wow, I did not know that. Thanks. See, that's another reason why you should be on. So I believe that your tipping point is probably already here. I believe that 50% of the agents today are walking dead.
I'm nodding my head in approval, yes.
And I believe this fits into a story that Zig Ziglar has told. Zig Ziglar talks about a story of a frog. And he talks about the fact that a frog was, if you drop a frog into a pot of water, boiling, it will hop right back out. Because it senses the pain, it senses the heat, it senses the change of the water not being the temperature that it normally is. But if you take that same frog and you drop it into a pan of of lukewarm water, that frog will actually swim around. And as you slowly increase the temperature, you can cook the frog, and the frog will never jump out. because it's mediocre. The enemy of best is not worse. The enemy of best is just fine. And that's what the frog thinks as the temperature slowly increases. He just gets used to it. Now let me take this back to you as an agent, because this is what I love to do. I love for you to hear that theory and say, Jason, how's this relate to me? If I was in the year 2000, and this is where we have to be truthful with ourselves. You're driving down the road right now, you're watching this in your office, close the door or say it to yourself so you can be honest. If you're in the year 2000 and you're selling insurance, and I plucked you out of the year 2000, and I brought you over and dropped you in 2014, I'm willing to bet that the majority of you would be like the frog and you'd hop out of this business in a New York minute. Because you had seen that things have changed so much and drastically in the way the consumer is and the tools we need to use and the coverage forms and the way technology goes and the way companies communicate past the agent directly to the consumer, but yet they still turn around and put lipstick on a pig and they try and kiss us and say that they love us. That's a different thing. But here's the difference. You were here in 2000, and no one plucked you out. What we did is we just slowly turned the heat up. And that's what the consumer's done. And it's 2014, and your tipping point is coming. And your tipping point is the fact that you're about ready to be cooked. So I want you to stop for a minute. I want you to sit back in your Lexus or your Mercedes you're in right now. I always love the fact that agents always gripe about how hard this industry is, and then they always leave and go get in their Benzes. But
I feel like I should just be saying amen at random points sometimes during the show sometimes.
Yeah, if you want to, hey, I'm a religious guy. I know a lot of people are. They're religious guys too. Just don't call me Jesus because I'm nowhere near because he was perfect.
It's sermon-esque, Jason. You're channeling your most inner sermon person.
Thank you. Well,
continue. I don't want to interrupt.
But Joey, that's my story of the frog, and I didn't. That's what I took from Zig Ziglar, and he was talking about something completely different. But as I'm reading this, I'm thinking, holy cow, that's the agents. So we have mediocrely, however you say that word, went through this whole situation. Yes, Joey, you're trying to think of the proper way.
I don't think it is. I can't. Go ahead. Continue.
So we're thinking of this, and I just want us to be curious of that. Anybody has any comments about that? Joey, be sure to check the comments. I want to hear your thoughts. This is one of my new things that I'm really on because I think it's a way for agents to open up. I mean, agents always say to me, hey, we're not doing things the way we were in the past. The industry's not, but they haven't changed. So, any comments or anything coming in? But Joey, before that, I'd like to hear what do you have to say about that? I mean, I know you probably agree, but I mean, how many? Let me ask you this, Joey. Am I wrong in assuming that 40–50% of the agencies today are walking dead?
I would say it's depending on the way things go. It could be more. It could be 80 or 90. I think because what we do, and if we can figure out how to scale it, and again, I said in a couple of shows ago, I think as soon as companies figure out some of this stuff, I think it's going to be a really hard time for us. But I mean, what we do can be replicated and scaled and personalized in a way that can reach so many more people. If the first person to capitalize that and create those systems wins, and it'll be interesting to see who gets there first. I know I've got my ideas. But yeah, I think there's going to be. We'll still be around, but there'll be a lot fewer of us.
I agree. It's just, I mean, it's just common sense. It's the way technology is, and.
So I guess the point that I want to make really quickly on this whole thing is the definition of insanity, at least by Albert Einstein, is doing the same thing over again and expecting a different result.
True.
So, I'm only 30 years old, but I've a while ago. I said, what's the point? Why not just say, listen, there's going to be something new tomorrow. Why not figure it out and know that I don't have all the answers, but I need to go try and find the ones that I can. And I think that's the problem is that we just decide to stop looking at some point and say, I'm good. It's okay. It'll be fine.
Mediocre.
Yeah. So it's just why, and it seems obviously the insurance industry it's an epidemic in some cases where we have that mentality. It's just why are we not continuing to search and push the envelope and find that way to kind of make our own path to be one of the 80 or 90 to be one of the 10 or 20%, I should say, that survive.
Yes. That's it. Joey, check the comments. We got any comments out there?
Yeah, Nicholas is just stroking our ego so far. He says he's a huge talk radio podcast, so I'm going to read it, obviously. He's a huge talk radio and podcast fan. It's obviously you two are well paired and very skilled. So thank you, Nicholas. Appreciate the kind
Thanks,
words.
Nicholas. Appreciate that, man.
Check is in the mail for you, sir. Josh says complacency will be the death of the independent insurance agent. So that's basically everything that we were just saying. He summed it up probably a lot better than we did. We've been going on about it for about 20 minutes. But
what are you talking about? It's Josh Lipstone. This guy is like rock star. He's 2014 Learner of the Year. I got to tell you, that guy is committed. Okay, so Joey, in the last 15 minutes here, a little less, let's break this down. Let's give him some meat. Okay, let's bring the soup out that's got the big chunks of the steak in it. All right, no chicken. Let's throw it aside. Let's get the chunks. and what I want to do is okay, Jason. I'm not there yet. My agency's not at that tipping point. But what do I do? What do I do? Well, to sum it up from a 30,000-foot view, Jim Rohn, the famous business philosopher, would say, find out what 95% of the people are doing and do the exact opposite, and you will be successful. I follow a lot of what Jim Rohn says, and I got to tell you that that's the most important one. So going after and setting our future on personal lines insurance, we've learned that. Probably not the best example. There could be something come out that could totally change the game and make it to stay where it is. But I think we can all agree, probably not going to happen. Okay, probably not going to happen. So I think that we need to start looking at where we're focusing our agency, whether or not we like it. Small commercial is important. Now, here's the one thing I got to tell you guys. This is one thing. I'm thinking, I don't know, Joey, and I want to bring this up to you real quick. What do you think about the fact of the small commercial being the answer? What's State Farm going to do when they go from $5 billion in premium down to $2 billion just because of premium cuts? I know right now that I can't remember who told me this. They told me that State Farm hired 700 technical engineers over the last year so that they can do nothing. Maybe that was Brent Kelly because he lives in Bloomington, Illinois. I can't remember who told me that. But they told me that they had hired all these because they are creating a massive system to be able to do small commercial. Because, see, they're planning for it. They're seeing, and believe me, they have more and more stats than you and I do, and way more data, and they see that coming. Joey, what do you think? Is that an answer for us to go small commercial?
Give me an example of small commercial.
I'm saying Joey, you just asked a good question. I'm going to say what the average agent says out there. $5,000 flower shop. That's what they would consider a small commercial.
All right, so we're talking about all these technologies, and we forget to, again, the ripple effects that we want to look down the pike. So as soon as same-day delivery becomes a thing from Amazon or whoever, who's going to survive? What retail space is going to survive? Because Amazon can sell anything at that point. Who's going to stop them? That flower shop, they're gone. They'll be able to deliver flowers to your door. So I mean, that's the point. I think trying to predict these sorts of things might, because chances are you're going to be wrong. If you want to try and be right, you're going to win the lottery. I guess I would make sure to put yourself in the position to know that when it changes, when it shifts, you're ready to go in whichever direction it does. Okay,
you're exactly right. But Joey asked a good question to all the viewers out there, which is important. Joey said, what do we consider small commercial? And I answered with a $5,000, $10,000 flower or shoe store. I'm right, aren't I, agents? Okay. So this flower shop has general liability. They have property coverage. They probably have 2 vehicles for delivery, work comp, and maybe an umbrella policy, and then all the other ancillary stuff, okay? So what is the difference between that $5,000 to $10,000 flower shop and the flower shop that now costs $50,000? Because the only difference is their sales are a little bit more on the GL policy that you already write. They have a couple more vehicles on the policy you already write. They have a couple more locations, so they have a little bit more property. And they have a little bit more on the work comp, a little more payroll. The umbrella is pretty much the same. The $5,000 premium, if they know how to do that, if the consumer can do that themselves online, which is happening, adding another vehicle or changing the payroll higher to make the premium higher doesn't really change anything. Can that happen with a manufacturer or something? Not right now, and not for the next 5-10 years. Those guys need hands-on. But those are the larger accounts. So we sometimes, I think that small commercial will be reinvented by technology that makes just that small package just as easy to quote as the big package. So I think that was a very good question. I want to go on, though, because we're wrapping it up here, and I appreciate all the viewers. They've stayed on. I just want you to know, once again, for any of you guys that may come on or left, I notice it's fluctuated. Be sure to leave any comments in the live screen so we can bring you on. But I think that that's important. Obviously, being social and digital, I think is one of the biggest things that you can do. Let me dive deep just for a second and give you a little slice. It's your story. Find your story. Tell your stories. Some of the biggest posts I've ever had on Facebook are the ones that I start this way. So, I got a call from a client the other day, and he says, Jason, do I have car rental insurance? Do I need to get the insurance that the car rental company calls me? Client calls me today and says, Jason, when I'm on vacation, do I need to get car rental insurance? And here was my answer. One of my biggest, probably top 5 blogs I've ever written. And the reason is because it was real. It was a story. And so I did in my blog, I wrote that story of what I told him. And then I answered those questions. And I made it to where it was scannable. Because that's how the reader reads today. So I think social and digital is important, but I also have to say, and I have this conversation with agents every day, especially the ones we help at Grow Agency, you just can't have a blanket on it. Right now you can get away with just having, you're having someone post a blog for you, or do your social sites, or help set up your email marketing. But there's coming a point, and Chris Paradiso's talked about this a lot, you need a social engineer. You need someone in your office that can do that for you. When you go see a client and you're collecting their information, you need to be able to take video and pictures that when you take it back to the office, you give it to your social engineer. In 3 days, they've worked up a video that you send to the person that you haven't even quoted yet. That's the type of thing that Jim Rohn says, find out what 95% of the people are doing, do the exact opposite, and you'll be successful. Those are the type of things that you have to start thinking about. You have to start thinking about this. This is a very important thing for you. Start building your social and digital network so that you can pump business to other people that you try to help. That's the same stuff we've been doing for 50 and 60 years. Yeah, hey, I write this flower shop. Hey, Jim tells you he needs to buy some flowers for a set. Hey, go support these people. Go help them. Now think about building your network and being able to influence that network to be able they can go places. Call your clients and say, hey, I'm going to send people to your business, and when they do, would you give them 10% off if they tell you they came from JDC Insurance Group? That's not rebating. It's not rebating at all. I'm not giving them back any of the commission. The client's the one who's giving them the discount, not me. It's just a benefit to be working with me. So I can go on with some other things, but I want to bring Joey in here. Joey, any thoughts on any of that I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to share my screen here. And
sweet. Oh, sweet.
This is what I want to bring up. And this is what I feel the cornerstone. And whenever we get around to doing this DEMA strategy webinar, this is what it's going to be based off of.
Okay.
3 pillars that I feel every independent agent needs to be focusing on, and I have yet to fully get all 3 of these working on at full speed. But you have awareness, expertise, and community. And like we've talked about, insurance. What we need to do is we need to be able to prove to them we know what we're doing. We have to have stuff online that says, listen, we know how to do what we do. That's the middle. That's the expertise. That's what a lot of what we talk about already is what's happening. That's what you will find in every corner of every marketing and internet marketing website that you come across, expertise. But at the top, if you move up to the awareness point, it's doing something like what Jason's talking about. It's building that audience around something else that may not be insurance related. What are you going to build your audience around? That you can constantly be in front of and have the opportunity to talk to that isn't insurance related, because listen, they don't want to listen or hear you talk about insurance 24/7. Once they're done, they don't care. Move on, give me something else. And if you have the ability to identify something that your ideal client or customer is associated with, that's probably what it's going to be. And then finally, once they get here, we always neglect so much of the people that actually pay our bills. We're always focused on, like, a very good example. I just called, like, we're switching domain hosting, and like I'll call the sales line, one ring, somebody picks up. I call the customer support, I'm on hold for 5 to 10 minutes. Wow.
Yeah, what the hell's up with that?
I mean, yeah, they want to make sure that they're going to take that new sales call, but man, they're not going to fix my my support question right away. So it's, what can you do? What kind of community can you build with those clients? Like what you said, those discounts and things like that. And I think honestly, if we are to kind of put all of those things together, that is, what we would be building towards, to kind of moving everything down the funnel and having that kind of referral engine happening and having that constant audience.
That's good stuff. And really, Joey, that right there, we could bring that thing that you just talked about, and we could talk about that for an hour, because that was good stuff right there. I'm serious. No, that's good stuff.
I mean, and I'm going to drop this real quick, and I haven't told anybody this, but this is anybody that wants to win in their local area, and I haven't done this yet myself, but what if your community built a free online resource for the jobs or the manufacturers, the businesses there, on how to do the jobs that they do, educate them? And what if you were the one putting it together? What if you were bringing those business owners together? You were getting close to them, helping them create this community, helping you create this resource. You're going to increase the people that want to work for you in your community. You're going to increase the overall kind of wealth and jobs in that community, and you're going to be connected with everybody in the community that you would potentially want to sell and serve with. You're going to make that, so like Ashtabula is where our agency is located. So if we had, learnashtabula.com or whatever, and it's just in the list of the companies that we have, and we had courses on how you do each of their jobs, and you learn directly from the people as opposed to going to school to learn random jobs that you might not necessarily end up doing. What if you built that kind of education platform within your own communities? How much would you have? How much kind of equity would you have, social equity in that community? If you did? I don't know if that's the first time I've ever explained it, so I don't know if it made any sense.
No, I don't know. It does. I think you your viewers that are watching live, I think it was around the horn, you guys would be pressing the points button, wouldn't you? Because it's that kind of stuff. It's that kind of stuff. And here's the thing I know that I'm finding out in my community. Coming up with something like that, I'm sometimes think that I'm by myself, but there's really a lot of other agents out there. I've been doing some serious talking. There's really not agents. There's a bunch of other business owners out there that are trying to think of these same things. They just don't have that expertise. Maybe you're the person that can create it. Maybe you're not the person that can create it. But I'll just give you another example. Kind of goes along with what Joey's saying, but also thinks innovatively. Dave Jackson from this group that I'm a part of. I mean, not only has he created this great insurance group, but I brought him on the podcast. He'll be coming out here, I believe, next week. And he talks about the fact that he has one of these for his community. So I don't know. I think he's 100, 150, 1,500, some shit. I don't know. It was a lot. Okay, excuse my language for saying that. But it was a lot. And he has created a group for his subdivision. And so all of the people in the subdivision all are on this group, so they can help each other when a block party's coming, someone's cats or dogs out, or hey, have you guys seen that vehicle rolling up and down the road? Or hey, don't we agree that we probably need to get the neighbor on the corner to cut his yard and get the refrigerator off the porch? Those type of things. I'm really, really blown away by that. It's got me thinking to myself, because he doesn't talk about insurance, but they all know what he does. And they see how helpful he is for free. Those are the things that are going to kind of tell you, guys, it goes from the business branding to the personal branding. I think that's something that what we're talking about here, and I don't think we realize it. I'm not going to go on right now. Josh heard a big rant about it today on the Facebook expert webinar through DEMA. But I'm thinking about getting rid of JDC Insurance Group's Facebook page. I think I'm going to rename it to Jason Cash JDC Insurance Group, because I believe that the personal brand is way stronger than the business brand, and I have proof. I have proof to tell you, because all the people who ever ask me to write their insurance through Facebook or give them a quote, they always go. I don't know where they find me. Obviously, they find me on JDC Insurance Group because I'm bombarding them with ads in their newsfeed. But the other thing is, they'll always come over to me personally and message me. They never hardly ever message me on my Facebook page. So I've kind of got to thinking, and then I've got this new producer who created a Facebook page called Ryan Sotman, JDC Insurance Group, and he's getting way more engagement, and I'm spending way less money on his advertising and his pushing his social, and he's just getting automatic engagement. I think it's because people are more connecting with him. So I just want to throw that out there. So build that personal brand. I think that's what you can do, and that's what you've got to do in the future. And I believe that the industry is going to become a commodity, and I believe when you build that personal brand, that's the spike that you will be as far as getting out of that commodity. And we've talked about that in prior things. I want to wrap this up. It's 1 o'clock. I hope you know when your agency is tipping. I believe there's a lot of people. If you could, Joey, check the comments one more time. Make sure we haven't left anybody off. We've had a really good viewership today. Really good comments. Greatly appreciate it. And keep in mind, we're always live on the 2nd and on the 4th Wednesday of every month at 12 o'clock Central Standard Time. So for Nicholas, for you, buddy, it's 10 o'clock. All right, but for we try to get it up so you can wake up. Take the kids to bed, Nicholas, or bed. Take them to school. Get your coffee in you. Dish out a couple policies, and then watch the Growth Show. Anybody else put anything else out there, Joey?
Josh came back, said niches will be the only way to stay in business, i.e. travel agents that specialize in Disney. And Nicholas came back, said network marketing is what you're talking about. Rotary has been doing this for years. I would probably push back a little bit on that, but I don't know if we have time for that.
Okay, that's a good topic for another time. And one thing that Josh is doing, and he's going to be posting pictures for us, is Josh is having his car. He's leasing a smart car. Actually, going to lease two. He's just doing one right now, and he is wrapping his car in, the wrapping, Lipstone Agency, and all this stuff like that. Whatever it's going to look like. The State Farm guy did it. But here's the thing that I've explained to Josh. He's doing a genius thing because he's connecting his outreach through social and digital to the offline. There's going to be people that are going to see him driving around town and go, wow, that's cool. Wow, this guy, look what that guy did. Ha ha, whatever. And then they're going to see his social presence and digital presence, and they're going to make the connection. They're going to make the connection towards, hey, this guy's different. I don't see my agent over here trying to educate me on social digital. I don't see my agent out there offline trying to tell me that he can help me. That connection there is very important, very, very important, and that's another thing we can talk about at a later time. Joey, I'm going to wrap her up. I appreciate everybody talking. Joey, any last thing you want to say?
No, hey, maybe Josh should try to pick some people up in that car. Why doesn't he actually lend it out to people to use and like rent it out? I mean, that might actually, if his insurance agent's car got him somewhere, would that not be more powerful than just reading the pretty paper on it?
Wow. Josh, feel free to reach out to Joey Gigola. Okay, that's a good one. We got to end this, guys. Got to end this. I appreciate all you viewers. Reach out to us. Be sure to leave some comments in there. Let us know how great it was, how stupid it was. Please, I don't really care what it is because I want people over the next 3 or 4 or 5 days and weeks are going to be reading these comments to see, is this a show we should be a part of? Keep in mind, you may say to yourself, why do I care if anybody else is doing this? Guys, we can't do it alone. Every day we learn new things.
Well, we may have lost Jason. If we did, I'll wrap up the show for him. He's frozen right now, but if he pops back in, well, I do appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to the Grow Show. Like Jason said, the more people that are with us, the better. We obviously learn from you just as much as you learn from us. So we'll be out here next time. We'll be back again second and fourth Wednesdays every month at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Central. Take it easy, everyone.